Well, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, world changers. Thank you again, Hannah, for the beautiful music. That was amazing. Thank you for blessing us yet once again. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. All right. So tonight we're picking up where we left off last night. I promised that I would read and respond to some of the comments that I didn't get to last night. So I'm going to start with that. And then, of course, Lord willing, we'll get into reading the rest of Numbers. I pray that everything that we share here today would be a great blessing to you. Increase your knowledge of the scriptures, your knowledge of the things of heaven, your relationship with God, and your knowledge of the truth. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, guys. So, share the live stream. Share. Let's get everyone on board. Any questions, comments, prayer requests, feel free to drop those in the live chat. Myself, I have a prayer request for myself tonight. The past... I don't know, maybe week and a half, I've been having a lot of stomach pains in my stomach and such. So I'm not sure what's going on. So please, guys, if you could keep me in your prayers, I would appreciate that. All right. So anyways, let's see what we have here in the live chat before we get going. And I want to make sure everything is good with all the rest of the other platforms as well. Everything's going here. Okay, we got TikTok going, and there's so many things going on. It's just that it's a lot of times it's a little bit on the challenging side to keep up with everything. So if you're on a platform other than TikTok and YouTube, and you have any questions, comments, prayer requests, I may or may not see it. So if you can just go over to YouTube or TikTok and put the questions or comments in there, it should be good. If you don't have me over there, if you don't know where to find me, just search for Christopher Enoch. It should be the first thing that pops up, and you'll see that I'm live right now. So yes. Yeah, so I'm live on Kick, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, DLive, BitChute. Should be over there on BitChute live as well. All right, guys. So let's see what we have here in the live chat. Oh, you know what? Just before I get going here, I want to make sure that I don't want to promise anybody that I can see the TikTok if I don't have that feed going here yet. So, okay, that should be good now. Excuse me. Dave, good to see you, Dave. Rising Lion, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Yeah, Alex, good to see you back. Craig, Sarah. On YouTube right now, Doug Mark Productions says, I can't wait for tonight's study. I always learn new things. Thanks for explaining things very clearly. Thank you. Shabbat shalom, or I shouldn't say Shabbat. Shalom, shalom. And I pray that you'll be even more blessed tonight as ever. Thank you for such a positive comment. Blessings multiplied to you and your family. Regina, I should say. I'm used to saying it because being from Canada myself, there's a city in Saskatchewan that is got the same name, but it's pronounced differently. Regina says, shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. Regina, welcome, and blessings multiplied to you and yours. Chipmunk says, shalom, everyone. Shalom, Chipmunk. Welcome and blessings to you and yours. Seek the Lord says, shalom, shalom, seek the Lord. Welcome, blessings to you and your family. Rick says, blessings, beloved Berean brethren and sistren. Shalom, shalom, blessings multiplied back to you as well. Al says, shalom to all and great blessings this fine Monday. Thank you, Al. Shalom and blessings multiplied back to you as well. Chipmunk says, you have heartburn or GERD, Christopher? No, I don't think it is. I was just explaining earlier, a few minutes ago, that the past week or so, maybe a week and a half, I've been having some pain in my stomach. Actually, my lower stomach. It's almost like, it feels like, when you have like the quote unquote, the stomach flu, or like if you have like some food poisoning, it feels like that kind of thing, but it's not. At least I don't think it is, because it lasted for way too long, and there's no other real symptoms. Everything else seems to be all fine, so I don't know what's going on there. So yes, please, guys, if you could just pray for me when you get some time there. Thank you, Chipmunk. All right. Enoch says shalom. Shalom, Enoch. Welcome and blessings multiplied to you and yours. Calamentos says shalom to all. Shalom, Calamentos. Welcome and blessings. Blythe, where are you from, Blythe? Doug Mark Productions says maybe you need to drink kombucha. You know what? I have been drinking kombucha. To be interesting that you mentioned that. I have been drinking that kombucha tea up until just the last couple days because I thought, well, I don't know if the tea is doing anything like that, but I have been drinking that particular kind of tea. Yeah. You said you make your own. Awesome. Sounds great. It's the best way to do any of these kind of things. Make your own, right? You want it done right, you do it yourself, right? Chipmunk says saying some special prayers for you. Thank you, Chipmunk. I appreciate that. Okay, let's get on to some of these comments. So these comments are not in any particular order. I'm just coming. I'm just going to talk about them as they come up here. Doug Mark Production says, it helped me with my medical condition. It takes 2 weeks for a batch. Wow. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Hubert says, shalom. Shalom, Huberts. Welcome and blessings. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Okay. So there was a video that I posted some while ago that, it's a short little clip from one of our live streams talking about the second coming, this kind of thing. And just, I was just throwing it out there that, there are some people that believe that that the coming of the Lord, has already happened, in 70 AD. So I was throwing that idea out there in that video. And I had this particular comment that was posted on that video saying, all you have to do is show where Jesus is living today. Bring his email or phone number or his address. This alone proves preterism is false. And until anyone can bring proof of Jesus on earth, you have nothing. Well, I appreciate your viewpoint there. I do understand where you're coming from. However, I think it's wise not to come to conclusions without knowing the whole matter. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13. To answer a matter before you hear the whole matter, it's foolishness and a shame. And we've all done it. I've done this as well. Okay, so, but let's try to do this less. So this is something that this is something that I would say myself like 30 years ago. This is something that I would say myself. So I can identify with this. However, there is a lot more to the preterism view than just a simple, shallow interpretation of it. For example, the term coming of the Lord in the quote-unquote Old Testament, the coming of God, or the visitation of God, the coming of the Lord, it is talking about the fall of judgment falling upon a certain place. Sometimes it would be a person, just one person, a group of people, a community, a city, a nation, whatever the case is. So, power of one, I would recommend that you dig into it a little bit deeper. Because here's the question: what if we have conflated the second coming, the second coming as in the physical second coming of Jesus, with the terms coming of the Lord? What if they are two different things? Just asking, because I know that the Tanakh does talk about the coming of the Lord, the coming of God. God will come visit. We see this multiple times throughout the Tanakh. So that's one thing that you haven't thought about, power of one. You know what? Hold on a second, guys. I keep on hearing an echo. And I think what the problem is here, there's on the other side of the room over here, I got something playing here. So give me a second, guys. I'll be right back. I just have to shut this thing off so that I can think. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thanks for your patience, guys. I appreciate that. Blythe, I noticed that when I ask you questions, you don't respond. It seems familiar. Seems familiar there, Blythe. I asked you a couple questions. I asked you one question there yesterday, and I asked you a question today, and there's no response. All right. Doug Mark Production says, I make 5 gallon every other week. Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Calmly says, the coming of the kingdom of God comes not with observation. Very good point. You know, this is in the Gospel of Luke, and we mentioned this a few times in the past little while here. Yeshua said, in other words, you're not going to be able to actually, in other words, it's not going to be a physical thing because it's not something that you can actually observe, but rather it's a spiritual kingdom within you, which he more or less says. Thank you, Calmly. Rick says, notice when you were speaking on Isaiah 14 that you started after 14:4. Could you comment on 14:4? Okay. Let's go on here. Give me a second. See if we can pull this up. Okay. So this is Isaiah 14:4. That you will take up this parable against the king of Babylon and say how the oppressor has ceased, the golden city has ceased. Okay. Yeah, so this is like, yeah, we have to have a lot more context to that before we, so you want me to comment on this? Isaiah. You'd have to look at it in the entirety of its context. Isaiah 14 verse 1: the Lord will have compassion on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. The foreigner will join himself with them, and they will unite with the house of Jacob. The peoples will take them and bring them to their place. The house of Israel will possess them in the Lord's land for servants and for handmaids. They will take as captives those whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. It will happen in the day of the Lord. It will happen in the day that the Lord will give you rest from your sorrow, from your trouble, and from the hard service in which you were made to serve, that you will take up this parable against the king of Babylon and say how the oppressor has ceased, the golden city has ceased. The Lord has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, who struck the peoples in wrath with a continual stroke, who ruled the nations in anger with a persecution that no one restrained. Yeah, so this is one of those really convoluted, this is one of those passages that is somewhat convoluted in my estimation, because King of Babylon, it seems like everybody and their brother and their sister and their little brother and little sister has an opinion of what this is talking about, King of Babylon. There are many different ways you can interpret this. Of course, first of all, we have to ask who is writing this. You say Isaiah is writing this. Who is he writing it to? Here's the question. Who is he writing this to? Is this to the people in his day? Or is this to us? Or somebody else in between? That makes all the difference. Because if it's somebody else in between, or if there's somebody in his day, then the king of Babylon can be an actual human being that actually ruled Babylon in that day. And then you go into the metaphorical or the figurative, spiritual realm of who the king of Babylon is, and that's where the sky's the limit. Basically, you can say that the king of Babylon is almost anything and everybody. A good rule of thumb. You see, I don't know of any Christian interpretation of this that stands out right away. Let's give me a second here. But if we go on over this, to Sepharia, let's see what the rabbis had to say about this. In Sepharia, this will be the Tanakh, and this will be in Isaiah chapter 14. It's taking a long time here. Here we are. Commentary, Rashi. Even Rashi doesn't say much at all about this at all, especially as to who the king of Babylon was. Same with Ibn Ezra. These people are very silent about this as well. Yeah, it's not really much of anything in regards to even the commentaries about that. Yeah, so again, we can take it literally, or we can take it spiritually, and it can apply to many, many different people. It's not really clear, Rick. It really isn't clear. That's a really good question. I appreciate it. Thank you. Joseph says, Shabbat Shalom to you all. Well, Shalom, Shalom, Joseph. Welcome and blessings. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Rick says, some have thought it was Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. That's what I mean by it could have been, a human, a real, like, physical, literal human being. Yeah, it could have been, that's for sure. Rick, thank you again. Matthew says, Shalom, friends. Shalom, Matthew. Welcome and blessings multiplied to you and yours. Ali says, Shalom all. Hi, Chris. It's been a while. Miss you guys. Hello, hello. Blessings and peace multiplied to you. Good to see you back. Okay, let's go on and the next comment here. So I received a comment here from this particular individual, and by his handle, I could say Daniel, and he says, according to Dr. Bart Ehrman and many secular scholars, the quote-unquote Son of Man does not refer to the Messiah or any other human being, but rather is, according to the scriptures, some kind of divine figure or spiritual cosmic judge who comes from the clouds, and therefore both Christians and Jews have misinterpreted the quote-unquote Son of Man when they interpreted it as a messianic figure or epithet. And according to scholars, such an idea of the Son of Man originally comes from Greek and Persian mythology, which is why such a character only appears in the scriptures during the Persian and Hellenistic eras. Well, thank you for your comment there, Daniel. It's one of those terms in the Jewish world today, quote unquote, the Son of Man simply means just a human being. This is why it says in the Psalms, don't put your trust in the Son of Man. Ezekiel was called the Son of Man way back in the day of Ezekiel. In the book of Enoch, we got Son of Man referred to quite a bit in the book of Enoch. So I would not limit the definition of Son of Man to just some divine figure or cosmic judge who comes from the clouds. I would take it as it is. It seems like the term Son of Man is simply referring to a human being. You could say Son of Man, Ben Adam, which would be the son of Adam, which would be, you could interpret that to mean that this will be the seed. Excuse me, the seed that comes from from Eve, the Messiah. So you got many different interpretations of it, but I think that it'd be safe to say that the term Son of Man simply means a human being. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. Eric says, hey, everyone. Hello, Eric. Welcome and blessings to you and yours. Mazi says, shalom all. Shalom, Mazi. Good to see you back. Welcome and blessings. Rick says, another one is 14:12. You have been cast down to earth. Yeshua was not cast down. He lowered himself below the angels to take on flesh. So this is another one of those cases where it's like, do you take it literally or do you take it figuratively? Because when he came into Jerusalem riding on a donkey, he was very high and lifted up. He was exalted. He was praised. And then when he was arrested and he went through his, what they call the passion, that would be literally being cast down. That would be literally being cast down. It's like how Yeshua said, that he named a couple cities, and he said you are exalted up into heaven, but you will be cast down to hell. So again, that cannot be taken literally, because those cities were cities that he literally spoke to, but the phrase, you are exalted to heaven, they were not in heaven, right? Those cities were not heavenly cities, they were earthly cities, but it was a figure of speech, basically saying that you have your day right now where you are exalted, you are high and lifted up, so to speak. And then Yeshua just said you will be cast down to hell, right? So again, figuratively speaking, it's almost like the Tower of Babel too. It's like we'll build the tower up to heaven. Of course, it's not literal. This is a figure of speech, meaning that it's going to be the pride and joy of the earth, basically, or at least the pride and joy of that particular society. So, it's figures of speech in my estimation. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Okay, all right. Okay, so here's another comment that I got. Respectfully, sir. Now, I know whenever somebody starts out with this kind of talk, respectfully, sir, you know that it's not going to be very respectful. But this person says, respectfully, sir, your argument is false on many fronts. It seems as though you're quite emotional about the whole thing. Paul's teaching lines right up with Christ's. Okay, so the video that this was posted on was the video. It's an old video, well, relatively old, maybe 2.5, 3 years old. I forget exactly when I did it. It's an old short that continues to get a lot of attention. So during this short, I basically just said, don't judge Paul by Paul. In other words, just because Paul says that he's true and what he says is true doesn't mean that it is true. Just because Paul said that he is an apostle sent by Jesus doesn't mean he is. Now, again, am I saying that he's not? No, I'm not saying that he's not. It's just a simple, common sense kind of criteria used to judge people. Just because David Koresh said that he was the Messiah doesn't mean that he was. And this is one of the only times I will ever use this phrase, but you can take a false prophet and you can pretty much guarantee that every quote-unquote false prophet proclaim themselves to be quote-unquote true prophets. So just because they say they're a true prophet doesn't mean they are. Just because Paul says so doesn't. Even Yeshua himself said, if I testify myself, my testimony means nothing. Even Jesus himself said that. So this concept that I brought forth in this video is typical. It's just having some good sense. Just because someone's telling the truth doesn't necessarily mean that they always tell the truth. Or just because they say that they're telling the truth doesn't mean that they're always telling the truth. Of course, everybody's going to say they're telling the truth. Of course, everybody's going to say that they're right and good and, they're justified. But that doesn't mean that they're right and good and justified. So I find it interesting there that it's just a simple little concept, but you said, respectfully, sir, your argument is false on many fronts. I think that what you're using here is a hyperbole. I don't think there's many fronts to it. It's just a simple and common sense kind of thing. And then you said, it seems as though you're quite emotional about the whole thing. What you got to understand is that particular video was recorded after a grueling fight, if you will, a grueling argument with Paulians. So it's amazing how you read into things that you don't even know. And then you go on to say Paul's teaching lines right up with Christ. Okay, so you make many statements, as usual, but no evidence. You claim that what I said is false on many fronts, although I said just one very little thing, but you didn't give me any evidence. Like, what's false and why is it false? I would like to know myself. Now, I'm glad that you said here that it seems, because you're not making necessarily a claim there. But then you said that Paul's teaching lines right up with Christ. So this is a claim. To that, I would ask you, how do you know? To that, I will ask you, how do you know? And I honestly want to know how you know, because there are some things that I see. Now, it's interesting that you said that there in that comment, because in that video, I didn't say anything about whether or not what Paul said lines up with Christ or not. I didn't say anything about that. I said nothing about. I didn't claim that he was all true. I didn't claim that he was all false. I really didn't make any claims at all. All I said was, just don't judge him by what he says about himself. You got to take it a little bit deeper than that. Again, be like the Bereans of Acts chapter 17. He may make a lot of claims. Paul may make a lot of claims, but check and see whether or not it lines up with the Tanakh. If it lines up with the Tanakh, then good to go, Paul. Awesome, good stuff. If not, well, sorry, Paul, I don't buy that. So, yeah, EK4203, let me know what you have for evidence here. What's the use of just making this statement when there's no evidence? Blythe, were you on the live stream before, like, last year at all, at any time? Or any time before that? Were you on this live stream last year? Or the year before, at any time? Blythe? All right. And then we got another comment here. I usually get these kind of things most of the time. So this particular individual says, Peter would have rebuked Paul, but instead he rebuked those who misunderstood and twisted his writings. Yeah, typical. You said that Peter would have rebuked Paul. Here's the thing, dear brother. I do think that what you're referring to here, even though you didn't really reference anything, or you didn't really make any references, I think that you're referring to 2 Peter chapter 3, in which, quote unquote, Peter, and I do that for a reason, said that he said that many people twist Paul's teachings and that kind of thing. Here's the thing: 2 Peter is one of the most contested books of the New Testament. It is considered by most credible scholars to be a book that is what they call pseudepigrapha, which means it was written in the name of somebody, but that particular person had nothing to do with it. In other words, it is quite commonly accepted across right across the board that 2 Peter was not written by Peter. And then somebody might say, well, but Peter dictated it. No, not written by Peter, not dictated by Peter, nothing like that. There are many reasons for saying this: the content, the writing style, the paleography of it. We have paleographers that have assessed the actual Greek and how it is used, and from what year it could be dated to. 2 Peter is typically dated after the death of Peter. Late 1st century, and even a lot of people would date. A lot of scholars would date 2 Peter into the 2nd century, long after Peter was gone. So it wasn't really Peter, or more accurately, I should say, we should be careful not to claim that it was Peter unless we have evidence that it actually was Peter. Right? Some people think that 2 Peter was written to help bridge the gap and help Paul to get his nose in there, if you will. All right. Mazi says, this is how I do Paul. I test him against what Yeshua said and what the Torah and Tanakh say. If it agrees, then I say okay. If it seems way off, then it goes in the shredder. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's exactly, that's the way to take it. Again, I'm not going to put a label on Paul, like I'm not going to say Paul is a false teacher or a false apostle or a false prophet or anything like that. Because I do think that a lot of things that he says is really good stuff. Some things, again, I'll say it's questionable, and we always have to do that as Bereans. We have to question, bounce it off the Torah, bounce it off the Tanakh to see if it works, to see if it's see if it's good. If it's good, then great. I will not only accept it and believe it, I will also proclaim it, and that's what I do. Quite often here, when I say, well, Paul said this or Paul said that and Paul said the other thing, I wouldn't repeat what Paul said unless I have assessed it as being on par with the Tanakh. Blythe says, yeah, I've been here for a while now. Okay, but you didn't answer my question, Blythe. Were you here last year or any time before last year, Blythe? Doug Mark says sometimes it takes hours or years studying to figure things out. Yes, I totally agree. Sometimes it takes for me, it took decades with a couple things to figure it out. Yeah, for sure. But this is what makes it so exciting as well, because it's like, you never come to the end of it. You never come to the end of it. Doug Mark says, I'm still learning. Yes, I am too. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Doug Mark. Going Nowhere says, greetings. I just ate a whole pizza, minus the crust, and I'm pretty full right now. I bet you are. Wow. Unless it was a small pizza. Even then, you probably would be full. Good to see you, Going Nowhere. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. All right. It was medium. Okay, that's what I pictured in my mind when you said that. Yeah, medium pizza. That would definitely fill you up. That's for sure. Okay. So, that's it for the comments, guys. Let's get back into Numbers. Numbers chapter 1. Rick says Methuselah was still learning at year 969 age. Well, I hope, yeah, as my grandmother would say, live and learn, live and learn. Going Nowhere, Matthew says crust is the best part. Enoch says David prayed to God the same way Jesus did. Why both don't receive the same treatment? Here's a question, Enoch. Was it David that actually prayed that way, or was it the Spirit of God that overlaid the life of Yeshua on David and he wrote in the name of Yeshua, if you will? Gnostic Native says, you must be doing keto? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? I'm not doing keto, not myself. Regina says, Chris, your episode with Dr. Snyder explaining there was really a clear background who Paul was, his childhood, etc. It's really strange, as influential as he is, it was kept secret. Yes, yeah, it's very, very interesting. But you come to think of it, though, I mean, you think even Yeshua's, well, I mean, to a certain degree, anyway, his youth was kind of kept secret as well. Yeah, thank you, Regina. There was no clear background. Okay, no clear background. All right. Okay, so back to Numbers chapter 1. Numbers chapter 1. I'll start with verse 1 just to keep it in context here, because we read this a couple times over already, and we only read till like verse 5, half of verse 5, and then we stopped there. Numbers chapter 1, verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of meeting on the first day of the second month in the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, every male, one by one, from 20 years old upward. All who are able to go to war in Israel, you and Aaron shall count them by their divisions. With you there shall be a man of every tribe, each one of his father's house. These are the names of the men who shall stand with you. Of Reuben, Elizur the son of Shadur. Of Simeon, Shalumiel the son of Zurishaddai. Of Judah, Nashon the son of Amminadab, of Issachar. Nathanael the son of Zoar, of Zebulun. Eliab son of Helon, of the children of Joseph, of Ephraim. Elishama the son of Amihud, of Manasseh. Gamaliel the son of Pedazur, of Benjamin. Abidan the son of Gideoni, of Dan. Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, of Asher. Pagiel, the son of Okran, of Gad. Eliasaph, the son of Dual, of Naphtali. Ahira, son of Enan. These are those who were called of the congregation, the princes of the tribes of their fathers. They were the heads of the thousands of Israel. Moses and Aaron took these men who are mentioned by name. They assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their ancestry by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, one by one. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he counted them in the wilderness of Sinai. The children of Reuben, Israel's firstborn, by their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, one by one, every male from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Reuben, were 46,500. Of the children of Simeon, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, those who were counted of it, according to the number of the names, one by one, every male from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Simeon, were 59,300. Of the children of Gad, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Gad, were 45,650. Of the children of Judah, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Judah, were 74,600. Of the children of Issachar, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Issachar, were 54,400. Of the children of Zebulun, by their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, were 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Zebulun, were 57,400. Of the children of Joseph, of the children of Ephraim, by their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Ephraim, were 40,500. Of the children of Manasseh, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Manasseh, were 32,200. Of the children of Benjamin, by their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Benjamin, were 35,400. Of the children of Dan, by their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go to war. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Dan, were 62,700. Of the children of Asher, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go to war. Those who were counted of them of the tribe of Asher were 41,500. Of the children of Naphtali, their generations, by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war, those who were counted of them of the tribe of Naphtali were 53,400. These are those who were counted, whom Moses and Aaron counted, and the 12 men who were princes of Israel, each one for his father's house. So all those who were counted of the children of Israel by their fathers' houses, from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war in Israel, all those who were counted were 603,550. But the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not counted among them. For the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Only the tribe of Levi you shall not count, neither shall you take a census of them among the children of Israel. But appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony, and over all its furnishings, and over all that belongs to it. They shall carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings. They shall take care of it, and shall encamp around it. When the tabernacle is to move, the Levites shall take it down, and when the tabernacle is to be set up, the Levites shall set it up. The stranger who comes near shall be put to death. The children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard, according to their divisions. But the Levites shall encamp around the tabernacle of the testimony, that there may be no wrath of the children, or of the congregation of the children of Israel. The Levites shall be responsible for the tabernacle of the testimony. Thus the children of Israel did, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they did. Matthew says, sounds like you're not an adult until you're 20. It makes you wonder what the population of Egypt was. Wow, yeah. Yeah, good point there, Matthew. Mozzie says, what always fascinated me was how all the numbers are round numbers. Yeah, that's a thing too. You'll see this if you compare the manuscripts. Now, this particular part, I'm not aware of the discrepancies in this particular chapter. But like if you take stuff like First and Second Chronicles, First and Second Kings, and there are a lot of numbers in those books, and like First and Second Chronicles is like a rehash of First and Second Kings. It says the same thing, right? The same story, all that kind of stuff, just retold, almost like Matthew and Luke, the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke. But if you compare the numbers, you'll notice that in many places the numbers are way off. Way off. So when it comes to numbers in the scriptures, I have my reservations when it comes to the accuracy of the numbers because of the differences in the manuscripts. Yeah, thank you, Mozzie. A lot of Christians would be very surprised to know that there are older manuscripts than what they have, and that a lot of these older manuscripts contain drastic differences, especially when it comes to the numbers between the manuscripts, like the Septuagint versus the Samaritan versus the Masoretic text, Dead Sea Scrolls. Thank you. Thank you, Mozzie. Mazia says, like, there's not 40,734 or something. It's a really good point. Really good point. And this reminds me of like the math too. Like if you look at the math when it comes to the scriptures, a lot of times the math is off. Like we know it's off. Like the circumference, for example, of the basin that we have in Kings, where it says that the diameter was like 10 cubits, and the what was it now? Yeah, the diameter is 10 cubits, and the circumference was 30 cubits. Well, that's what it says. That's what it says. Check it out. That's what it says. But that's mathematically impossible. If you want to be accurate, if the diameter is 10 cubits, the circumference must be 31.2, whatever pi is, right? Times 10, right? Pi times 10 would be the actual circumference of it. So, yeah, it's not really accurate. It really isn't. And this is a good point. It's something that a lot of people should take notice of. I have, when I was in my spiritual youth in 92, 93, I was told that the Bible is the inerrant, infallible, all authoritative word of God. There are no contradictions in the Bible, and it's perfectly, literally, and scientifically accurate with history and with science. But there's a big problem with that. The problem is that's not true. There's many things in the scriptures that's not accurate. Provable, not accurate. Thank you, Mazi. Mazi says, maybe they were rounding up back then too. Who knows? Advanced ancient math. Yeah, you know what? You know what we should do? Let's take a peek at the other manuscripts. Okay, give me a second here. Okay. I got a hard copy of the Samaritan here. I don't have it on the computer, so I'm just going to have to read it. It's a hard copy of the Samaritan text. Yeah, let's take a little meander here into some of these numbers. It wouldn't surprise me that some of these numbers actually do contradict, or at least are different, if you will, because this is always what happens. And I think that this proves that, it's not always super accurate. Okay, let's see. How are we going to do this? So, okay, so on the left-hand side, I have the WEB translation, which is based upon the Masoretic text, basically the same root as the King James and NASB and all the other mainstream texts. On the right side, I have the Brenton translation of the Septuagint. Let's have a quick peek here at the differences of the numbers. Okay, so we'll start down. Where are we going to start here? So Reuben, this would be verse 21. In the Masoretic, it says 46,500. Let's see what it says here in the Septuagint. It says 46,400 in the Septuagint. So right off the bat, you see there is a discrepancy, a major discrepancy. Well, I mean, there's 100 difference here. So however you want to look at this. Either way you look at it, one of them is wrong or both of them are wrong. There's no other way about this. Okay, so on the left side we got 46,500, and on the left side 46,500, and Septuagint says 46,400. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this will be Simeon. Verse 23, it says 59,300. Septuagint. Okay, lines up there. 59,300. All right. Next one, Gad. Verse 25. 45,650. Okay. Septuagint says simply 47. What's this? Am I seeing right here? Oh no, wait a second. Hold on a second. What happened here? We have... It's in a different order, right? So we got Simeon. Verse 23. And that lined up, right? 59,300. So then in the Septuagint it goes to Judah, but in the Masoretic it goes to Gad. So according to the Masoretic text from verse 24-25, Gad is 45,600. So we gotta find Gad here in the Septuagint. So the Masoretic says 45,600. Where's Gad here? Did I miss it? Oh, I must have missed it here. Let me do a search. Gad? Okay. So Gad's kind of hidden in there. Talk about hidden. Verse 37. So here it says 45,650. So that lines up. Judah, in the Masoretic text, it says 74,600. So we got to go back up to Judah here. Now, where's that now? Judah. Verse 25 in the Septuagint, 74,600. So that lines up. Issachar, according to the Masoretic text, 54,400. In the Septuagint, 54,400. Okay, it's the same. 54,400, 54,400. That lines up. Zebulun in the Masoretic, 57,400. Septuagint, 57,400. But there's a little note here. In another manuscript it says 500, not 400 there. Okay. Masoretic text, children of Joseph, children of Ephraim, their generations by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of their names, from 20 years up. Okay. Those who were counted of them, of the tribe of Ephraim, were 40,500. Septuagint, 40,500. All right, got that one. Manasseh in the Masoretic text says 32,200. In the Septuagint, same thing. Okay, that lines up. Benjamin, Masoretic text, 35,400. Septuagint, 35,400. Got that one? All right. Children of Dan in the Masoretic, 62,700. Children of Dan in the Septuagint, 62,700. Okay, that lines up. Asher, Masoretic. What happened there? I missed. Okay. I'm going to have to. Asher. Where was that now? There it is. Asher in the Masoretic, 41,500. Same with the Septuagint, 41,500. Naphtali in the Masoretic, 53,400. Same in the Septuagint. Okay, so in the Masoretic text, it says in verse 44, these are those who were counted, whom Moses and Aaron counted, and the 12 men who were princes of Israel, each one for his father's houses. So all those who were counted of the children of Israel by their father's houses were from 20 years old and upward, all who were able to go out to war in Israel. All those who were counted in were 603,550. So 603,550. And that's in verse 46. And lo and behold, it's the same number in the Septuagint, regardless of the other discrepancy that it had earlier. Remember that? So somebody is not counting properly here. Six 3,550. Okay, so it's not too bad when it comes to the differences there. Now, you know what? I'm not going to do the Samaritan text right now. It's so much. I don't want to drag you guys through all looking up every single one of those texts there, but you got I think y'all get the idea that there are discrepancies. Now, it's not so bad here in the Torah, in the books of Moses. We do have at least one discrepancy. But in the Tanakh is where we really, really see it. In 1st and 2nd Chronicles, it is just, you guys would be shocked to see how much difference, the different numbers. Of course, people try to make it work. Oh, well, they count, in this one was counting the ones that were not 20 years old, and these ones were counted, but it doesn't say that, People they make all kinds of claims just to make themselves feel better, I think. Matthew says, seems that the tribes kept their own identity and only united when needed. Seems like that's the case, Matthew, yes. Mazi says, yeah, math, geography, and history are my favorite things, so numbers catches my eyes. Numbers catch my eyes. Wow, yeah, awesome. Awesome, Mazi. Enoch says, nowhere in the Bible do they say Jesus' spirit overlays David's spirit of God. Did I really say that, Enoch? What it does say, though, is that David spoke by the Holy Spirit and spoke in first person from the point of view of the Messiah. And this is in Acts chapter 2. We read this the other day. So it basically says what I just claimed. Just because, and here's the thing too, guys. Just because the Bible doesn't say it doesn't mean that it's not true. Okay? Like, for example, did Moses ever go relieve himself? It doesn't say that he did. Neither does it say that most of the people never. Does it say that Moses breathed? Doesn't say that, does it? So using that same logic, you could say, well, Moses didn't breathe. Does it say that Moses had hair? Well, no, it doesn't say Moses had hair. So does that mean that Moses was bald? Does it even say that Moses had a head? You see, you can take this into millions of things. What you got to do, and this is why we talk about it, we got to use some good thinking skills. Evidence, when there's no hard evidence available, the likelihood of something is considered to be evidence. This is kind of like the basis of circumstantial evidence. Ozzy says the biggest thing about the numbers is how how Masoretic text drops 100 years off of people's life in like 6 generations to make Shem look like he lived to see 8 generations after him. Yeah, there are some great discrepancies between the ages of these patriarchs, that's for sure, Mazi. Thank you. Doug Mark says, did you ever happen to locate your Orthodox Bible you were looking for last week to show us? Just wondering. Not trying to hurry you or be disrespectful. I'm just curious to know what one you have. No, I haven't located it, Doug Mark. I know it's around here somewhere, very close. I haven't located it yet. I could show you. It's a leather one. A lot of these ones are not leather, but the one that I have is leather. So the one that I have is like it's just a leather bound book. It's like the leather version of this one here. It's a leather version of it. And it's really interesting. It's got of course more books in there than the typical Roman Catholic Bible has. But that's the one that I have there, Doug Mark. Thank you for asking. Mazia says, I take the Septuagint, 1,200 years older. That's something we must consider, right? The dating of these manuscripts. Doug Mark Production says, can you explain Septuagint Bible is? I have never heard of it until I found your channel about a month ago. That's why I'm here to learn. Yeah, sure, no problem. So back in the day, like in history, we have Alexander the Great, came on the scene before the time of Yeshua, and he made the language, Greek language, to be like the mother tongue, if you will, of the literary works of those around that part of the world. So we got like all around the Mediterranean area and the Holy Land in that point in time. Everybody, those who could read, would normally read Greek, not Hebrew. So it'd be Greek. They could read and write Greek. This is why the Apocrypha was written in Greek, because it was written after that revolution, if you will. So in those days, seeing that Greek was the go-to language, almost like English in North America today. So the common language to read and write in North America today would be English. So it was the same way in that part of the world, except it wasn't English, of course, it was Greek. So in around 250 BC, there was this king, King Ptolemy. he he set out to have the greatest, biggest, most well-stocked library in the entire world. He wanted to have every book that he could possibly have in his library. So he had apparently the biggest library in the world, except for he didn't have the Torah, especially, or the Tanakh. So the problem was, because everything was in Greek, the Torah was in Hebrew. So he set out to get the Torah translated from Hebrew to Greek. So he sent to the to the Jewish people and got them to send 70/72 Hebrew scholars to Alexandria, Egypt, to translate the Torah into Greek. And so that's how it began. It began with the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, in about 250 BC. So the translation that they produced is called the Septuagint, otherwise known as you see this. If you have like Bibles with footnotes that tell you about the different manuscripts, you'll see every once in a while you'll see LXX, Roman numerals for 70, which is the Septuagint. The Septuagint really means 70, and the reason why they call it 70, and actually in the early writings, the early church father, the early centuries and the church fathers, even the church fathers called it like the writings of the 70. So it was called that because of the 70 translators that were used to translate from the Hebrew into Greek. So 70 Jews, 70 Hebrew scholars came to translate it all. Therefore, it's called their product was called the 70, the LXX, i.e. the Septuagint. I think Septuagint is like a Latin transliteration of that. So it predates the Masoretic text that we have today. The Masoretic text is only the quote-unquote Old Testament, or otherwise known as the Tanakh. And I've heard arguments that the Masoretic dated back, closer to the time of the Septuagint, but not. But really, when all is said and done, the Masoretic text wasn't finalized until almost the 10th century. So it would be like 1,000 years difference, or like I think it was Mazi said there earlier, 1,200 years. So yeah, so it's about 1,200 years between the beginning of the translation of the Septuagint and the end of the finalization of the Masoretic text. So they call it the Masoretic text because the Masoretes, a group of Jews, were the ones that were responsible for that. They're the ones that took the ancient Hebrew and added vowel marks on them, because the most ancient Hebrew didn't have vowels. So the Masoretes wanted to preserve the pronunciation of some of these words, and so they made their own little code, their own little vowel. They call it Nikud, I think. They made their own little code, as like they call it vowel markings. So when it comes to the historical dating of things, the Septuagint started way back in 250 BC. Now, some people argue that, the Septuagint, especially like Isaiah or some of these other books that are not included, not Moses books, they would argue, they were translated much later, they were translated by the Christians. I don't think there's any evidence to that. I think there's more evidence that the entire Septuagint, meaning that the Torah and the prophets, were all completed by the time Yeshua came on the scene. So the Septuagint dates way back. The Samaritan text is about the same age. There are people who think that the Samaritan could maybe even predate the Septuagint. Then we have we got the Dead Sea Scrolls as well, which is also around that time period. So you got those three texts. And then we have other texts like the Targum. The Targum is almost like a commentary, like a rewrite, like a paraphrase of the scriptures. It's not like word for word from the Hebrew or Greek, whatever. It's rather, it's kind of like a rewrite with a commentary mixed in with it. So that's the Targum, and that dates pretty old too. Like that, they would date that back to the 1st or 2nd century there. Then you have the Latin text, which is actually older than the Masoretic text. At least if you consider the finalization of the Masoretic text, because the finalization would be about the 10th century. The Latin Vulgate is called. Latin Vulgate is around the 7th century. And then we have the Peshitta too. The Peshitta is the Aramaic translation. So the Aramaic translation dates to the early centuries as well. So the oldest would arguably be the Septuagint and the Samaritan Septuagint, or even the Dead Sea Scrolls. Those would be the oldest. Yeah, thanks, Doug Mark Productions. Matthew says the 70 must have been fluent in both Greek and Hebrew. Yes, it must have been. So the Septuagint was a codex. The Matthew said. Rick says by adding the vowel marks, though they could change the word to fit their Talmudic ideology. Well, what would you call it? Like, theoretically speaking, yes. We mentioned this before, where the word in the Hebrew for milk is the same word as fat, exactly the same word in the ancient Hebrew, not anything different. So the only difference would be the way that it's pronounced. So if you pronounce it one way, it means milk. If you pronounce it the other way, it means fat. And so the Masoretes put in there the vowel markings that would mean milk, as in milk and honey instead of fat and honey. Thank you, Rick. Doug Mark Production says, wow, thanks for explaining that. I didn't know none of that. Wow, awesome. Well, thank you, Doug Mark. Welcome, Free Hugs to Give. Larry, Adgel, Prudent Works. Welcome, welcome, guys. Blessings to you and yours. All right, let's continue. Chapter 2, Numbers chapter 2, verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, the children of Israel shall encamp every man by his own standard, with the banners of their fathers' houses. They shall encamp around the tent of meeting at a distance from it. Those who encamp on the east side toward the sunrise shall be of the standard of the camp of Judah, according to their divisions. The prince of the children of Judah shall be Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, his division, and those who were counted of them were 74,600. You know, should we, let me see, how many of these numbers do we have here? We got quite a bit, don't we? Okay, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to set it up here like I had it earlier. And we'll compare it. We'll compare these numbers. And this time I will use the Samaritan. Okay. Here we are. On the left-hand side, again, is the translation based upon the Masoretic text. The right-hand side is a translation, Brenton's translation, based upon the Septuagint, excuse me. So it says here in verse 6 of the Masoretic, his division and those who were counted of it were 54,400. In the Septuagint, 54,400, exactly the same. Verse 7 of the Masoretic, the tribe of Zebulun, the prince of the children of Zebulun, shall be Eliab the son of Helon. His division and those who were counted of it were 57,400. In the Septuagint, 57,400. So let's see what we have here. This thing is drifting on me here. Let's see what we have here in the Samaritan. 54,400. Yep. And again, $57,400. Yeah, so that lines up. Okay, verse 9, Masoretic text, all who were counted of the camp of Judah were 186,400 according to their divisions. They shall set out first. Septuagint, all that were numbered of the camp of Judah were 180,600. Excuse me, 180,000 and 6,000, so 186,400. So that's the same. In the Samaritan, 100,000 and 80,000 and 6,400. Yeah, same. Okay. Masoretic, verse 10, on the south side they shall stand, on the south side shall be the standard of the camp of Reuben according to their divisions. The prince of the children of Reuben shall be Elizur, the son of Shadeur. His division, verse 11, his division and those who were counted of it were 46,500. Septuagint, 46,500. And the Masoretic, same thing. Verse 12, those who encamp next to him, this is from the Masoretic, those who encamp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon. The prince of the children of Simeon shall be Shalumiel, the son of Zurishaddai. His division and those who were counted of them were 59,300. That's in verse 13. In the Septuagint, 59,300 it is, yes. And in the Samaritan, 59,300, same. Actually, the text that I have here, the Samaritan text, has the All of the different discrepancies all made out in bold. So I don't see any of the numbers here from the comparing the Samaritan with the Masoretic. I don't see any of the numbers contradictory or being any kind of discrepancies there in the Samaritan at all. So I'll just put that aside for just a moment. By the way, guys, if you can give me just about 3 or 4 minutes, I'll be right back. I appreciate it. Thank you for your patience, guys. I appreciate that. All right, so we are on verse 14 from the Masoretic text. It says, the tribe of Gad, prince of the children of Gad, shall be Eliasaph, the son of Ruel. His division and those who were counted of them were 45,650. In the Septuagint, it says 45,650. So the same there as well. Verse 16, Masoretic, all who were counted of the camp of Reuben were 151,450 according to their armies. They shall set out second. Septuagint says, all who were numbered of the camp of Reuben, 151,450. All right, same there as well. Verse 17 of the Masoretic, the tent of meeting shall send out with the camp of the Levites in the middle of the camps. As they encamp, so shall they set out, every man in his place by their standards. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim according to their divisions. The prince of the children of Ephraim shall be Elishama of the son of Ammihud. His division and those who were counted of them were 40,500. In the Septuagint, same thing, 40,500. Okay. Masoretic text, verse 20, next to him shall be the tribe of Manasseh. Prince of the children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur. His division and those who were counted of them were 32,200. Septuagint, same thing, 32,200. Masoretic, verse 22, the tribe of Benjamin, the prince of the children of Benjamin shall be Abidan, the son of Gideoni. His army and those who were counted of them were 35,400. Septuagint, 35,400 it is. Verse 24 of the Masoretic, all who were counted of the camp of Ephraim were 108,100 according to their divisions. They shall set out third. The Septuagint says 108,100. Same. You see, I noticed that the it just seems to me, I'll just say it this way, because I want to be as accurate as possible here, but it seems to me like the Torah is not, there are not that many discrepancies between the manuscripts in the Torah compared to the Tanakh. And it could just be because the books of Moses were held in higher esteem, and the scribes paid more attention to being accurate with transmitting the text of the books of Moses, as opposed to something like, again, First or Second Chronicles or some of these other ones. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. Verse 25, on the north side shall be the standard of the camp of Dan according to their divisions. The prince of the children of Dan shall be Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. His division and those who were counted of them were 62,700. Septuagint, 62,700. Verse 27, those who encamp near to him shall be the tribe of Asher. The prince of the children of Asher shall be Pagiel, the son of Okran. His division and those who were counted of them were 41,500. Septuagint, 41,500. Back to the Masoretic, verse 29, the tribe of Naphtali, the prince of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, the son of Anon. His division and those who were counted of them were 53,400. Septuagint, 53,400. All right. Verse 31 of the Masoretic, all who were counted of the camp of Dan were 157,600. They shall set out last by their standards. Septuagint, 157,600. Okay, so that lines up. Okay, verse 32 of the Masoretic text. These are those who were counted of the children of Israel by their fathers' houses. All who were counted of the camps according to their names were 603,550. And we got the same in the Septuagint. Verse 33, but the Levites were not counted among the children of Israel as the Lord commanded Moses. Thus the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they encamped by their standards, and so they set out, everyone by their families, according to their fathers' houses. All right. So there you have it, folks. We're gonna wrap it up here in just a few minutes. Matthew says, interesting that they designated princes over the tribes. Yes. Princes and not judges. Prince sounds like royalty. Yeah, it sounds that's amazing. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, so anyways, guys, I think I'll wrap it up with that. Don't forget, if you guys will pray for me. I'm going to ask for prayer myself this time. My stomach, especially my lower abdomen, it's been giving me a lot of pain here recently. Even while I was just doing this live stream, fair amount of pain. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Please pray for me, guys. And yeah, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Lord willing, same time, same place. We'll pick up where we left off. Numbers chapter 3. And yeah, we'll have a great time as always. So keep on calling on him, and he will show you great and mighty things. Matthew says, let's pray, go have it checked. Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm thinking maybe even tonight. I'm not sure. Either tonight or call the doctor tomorrow and set up an appointment or something. Thank you, Matthew. Chipmunk says, thank you, Christopher. Prayers and healing and great dreams. Thank you very much, Chipmunk. I appreciate that. And blessings multiplied back to you as well. Doug Mark Productions says, good night, everyone. God bless, sending prayers. Thank you, Doug Mark Productions. I appreciate that. Good night. Blessings multiplied back to you. Gnostic Native says, prayers for you, Christopher. Thank you, Gnostic Native. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ozzy, all right. Seek the Lord says, thank you, brother. You will be in my prayers. Thank you, Seek the Lord. Much appreciated. Blessings to you and your family. Rick says, maybe full moon effect, Chris. Prayers, brother. All right. Hopefully it's, just as simple as that. That's for sure. All right. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. And Matthew says, Laila Tov, get well. Many blessings to all. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. Blessings multiplied back to you. Okay, guys. Love you guys. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Cubert says, thank you. Blessings all praying. Thank you, Cubert's. Blessings multiplied back to you as well. All right. And Mozzie says, thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Mozzie. Awesome stuff. You guys are amazing people. You guys are just amazing people. This is an amazing, you guys make an amazing fellowship. That's for sure. I really appreciate you guys. I really do. Love you guys. And I pray the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you. Lift up his countenance upon you and give you wonderful, wonderful shalom. Amen. Amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Blessings.